All right, we're starting to get some participants coming in. I'm not sure if there was a warning ahead of time, but this is recorded and we're going to be posting this on our task force website. I'll start again once I'm going to wait a couple minutes to start. All right, we've been holding 8 participants so far, so I am going to start the meeting. Welcome to the first task force meeting for the County of Ventura's Drought Resiliency Plan. I'm Shauna Schlagater with the County of Ventura's County Executive Office. This task force is for the Drought Resilience Plan specific to domestic well communities, small water suppliers, and state small water systems only. This is not the forum to discuss general drought planning and water conservation, but if this is something that is near and dear to your heart, please email us and we can help navigate you to the appropriate group. The email is SB552 Drought Resiliency Plan at venturacounty.gov. This shows up at the last slide of the presentation. Just a reminder to everybody that's on here, this presentation is being recorded and it will be posted on our SB 552 webpage after the meeting so that anybody who has missed the meeting can watch it themselves. The Ventura County process for implementing the SB 552 is going to be a 100% online process through the website that you use to join the Zoom meeting. Please encourage your colleagues, friends, and neighbors to join the task force. Please send all communications such as questions, comments, concerns, and especially compliments through the website and the email that is shown on the last slide, which is SB552 Drought Resiliency Plan at venturacounty.gov. For the Zoom meeting, participants have been muted and all questions shall be submitted through the Q&A feature. Questions will be answered and published throughout the presentation. If time allows, we will review some of the questions live, and the slides that are presented will be available on the website following the meeting, and I will try to post the questions into the Q&A, the slides into the Q&A as soon as I'm able to do it, so that everybody will have a copy as we go through. I'm now happy to introduce Rena Buck-McLeod and Emily Hong from Stantec, and they'll be presenting what is SB 552, what is the Drought Resilience Plan, and Task Force, and much, much more. Over to you.
Great. Thank you, Shauna. As Shauna said, I am Rena Buck-McLeod, and I am part of the Stantec team supporting the County of Ventura with the SB 552 implementation within the county. This slide here is an overview of who is on our team to help with the implementation of the county service plan for the SB 552 work. We have a county project coordination team who's also on the call here. If we would like to go and do introductions within the team in the order that we are listed here and on the call. I think we talked about unmuting and showing our feet and saying hello, introducing ourselves. So we'll kick off with the county PCT in the order that's here.
Hello, my name is Anastasia Symes. I'm with Public Works.
Shauna Schlagater again with the CEO's office.
I am Kim Delacourt. I'm with the Sheriff's Office of Emergency Services as an emergency manager.
Hi, I'm John Godier. I'm a groundwater specialist with the Watershed Protection Group within Public Works.
Hi, I'm Ashley Kennedy. I'm filling in for Timothy Crone with the Environmental Health Division. And we also have Sean Debley here.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody.
Thank you.
I'm Shelley
And
Sussman. I'm a manager in the County Planning Division in the Resource Management Agency.
thank you, Shelley. And then from the Stantec team, Rena Buck-McLeod, a water resources engineer with Stantec. And then Emily, you could take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Huang, and I'm a planner with Stantec.
Thank you. Thanks, Emily. And then as you can see here, we part of our team for the County of Ventura Drought Resilience Plan. We also have the County Drought Task Force, which are the participants. Thank you for joining today. And we have a quick blurb here about what's required by SB 552 for the task force, and thank you for signing up. And since we have 12 participants on the line, I was thinking we could go through and introduce yourselves and your affiliation and any additional information you would like to add. I'll do a quick review though of what the task force entails. So in compliance with SB 552, the county has invited representatives from the state and other local governments, including groundwater sustainability agencies, community-based organizations, local water suppliers, and local residents to participate in the task force. So thinking, as I mentioned, going down the line and introducing yourselves, starting with looks like it's an alphabetical order on my side. So Bram, if you would mind introducing yourself. Looks like Bram might be muted. Is there the ability for Brian to introduce yourself?
Did
Brian
it
Miller?
work?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Oh, there you go. I had to push a couple of buttons. Sorry. Yeah. So my name
Thank
is
you.
Bram Surku. I'm a water resource supervisor with United Water Conservation District. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I think you called Brian Miller. I'm Chief of Staff for Supervisor Kelly Long, just trying to learn more about this SB 552.
Great, thank you. And Jennifer, next on the list. Nothing's coming through from you, Jennifer. So maybe Kelly, we can jump down and circle back to Jennifer.
Hi, Kelly Long, Ventura County Supervisor.
Thank you, Kelly.
All about water. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. And on my list next is Corinne. If I'm saying that correctly. We'll jump down to Maureen, perhaps.
Hi, this is Maureen with the Farm Bureau of Ventura County.
Thank you, Maureen. Great, thank you. And Melanie? Do you have a Melanie Morgan on the line?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay. So I'm Melanie Morgan. I'm with Ventura County Agricultural Weights and Measures. Corinne Bell will be here soon. She's just preoccupied at the moment. She'll be here.
Thank you. All right. And then Michael Durazo.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon. My name is Michael Drough. I am with Supervisor Kelly Long's office.
Thank you. We're almost down the line. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Robert. There's Robert on the line.
Hi, I'm Robert Hampson. I'm a hydrologist for the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency, and I am the plan manager for 3 groundwater sustainability plans, the Oxnard, Pleasant Valley, and Las Posas Valley.
Thank you. That's wonderful. And then Sarah Mulder.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Sarah Mulder, Water Resources Manager for City of Ventura.
Thank you. And last we have Stephen Glenn.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stephen Glenn. I am the Environmental Services Supervisor at Ventura Water.
Thank you. Thanks, Stephen. And if there's anyone I missed, please speak up now, but I think I covered everyone. Great, thank you. It sounds like we have a great cross-section of perspectives, which is wonderful as we kick this off. So I'm going to first provide an overview of what the drought resilience plan is and isn't, and then also the anticipated schedule as it pertains to this task force. So the drought task force charter is available on the county website that was used to sign up for this task force. And there's a link here in the presentation that will be shared as well. And if you would like any more information, it describes the roles, responsibility, membership, and decision-making authorities of the county, the project coordination team, and the task force. It also includes information on communication and engagement as required by SB 552. And then, as mentioned on the previous slide, the water shortage task force, this task force is consistent with California Water Code with SB 552. And this slide provides an overview for what our goal is at this point for the task force is to help support the development of a drought resilience plan. And this slide is a lot of information, but it provides an overview of what the resilience plan must include. It must include potential drought and water shortage risks, which we'll talk about in a bit more in this meeting, and then propose interim and long-term solutions for state, small water systems, and domestic wells in the county, which are described further in this presentation as well. Minimum considerations, as you'll see as we go through, include consolidations for existing systems, domestic well drinking water mitigation programs, provision of emergency and interim drinking water solutions, analysis of steps necessary to implement the plan, and then as well as an analysis of funding sources available to implement the plan. And as Shauna mentioned at the top of this call, this drought resilience plan has a narrow scope, and it pertains only, well, it's focused on state small water systems, which are the defined here, but basically serves at least 5, but not more than 14 service connections. And then domestic wells, which are for 1 to 4 service connections. And then we have a quick definition here of drought, a period of abnormally dry weather that results in water shortage. And a water shortage is a condition in which demand for water exceeds the available supply. And those are both defined in SB 552. And then SB 552, these definitions are intended to help the small water suppliers and rural communities prepare for and respond to droughts and water shortages, regardless of the source. And so our goal as the task force and the PCT is to develop this drought resilience plan. And we just wanted to give an overview of what's included in that. And these are the chapters that align with what's required by SB 552 that you'll be seeing in a couple of months in the drought resilience plan. And we'll go into how those all fit together in a future slide. And this is an overview of the process for how we're going to actually develop that drought resilience plan. And we are in this first step here with establishing the drought task force. So thank you for your participation. And the drought task force is a focused team that's led by a team. Task force is the county team leads the formation of the task force. So that's where we are right now. And then the information in the drought resilience plan will be included in chapter 2 pertaining to the task force. And that's going to be the charter that was available on the county website. And then the chapter 3 of the drought resilience plan, which is the step that will be presented in the slide as well, in this presentation as well, is conducting a risk assessment to really using the physical and social vulnerabilities to identify where water supply shortages could occur in the county. And then the next step is to align actions and strategies of how to respond to droughts or water shortages. And then below here, it shows the chapters within the drought resilience plan, which are chapters 4 through 6. And then the drought resilience plan will be completed, but the task force will continue supporting monitoring implementation of the resilience plan within the county. And this is our anticipated task force engagement schedule. Across the top, we have actually last month through mid-March, mid-spring. And so right now, as in January, you can see we're working on developing the drought resilience plan, and we're holding this kickoff task force meeting here. And then our schedule has anticipated task force review of the drought resilience plan starting in about mid-February through early March. And then we'll have a second task force meeting to solicit feedback from this task force on the drought resilience plan. And then moving forward, the task force is established as a standing task force with any as needed engagement, which will be defined in the resilience plan. All right, so I just spoke a lot. Does anyone have any questions about the task force or formation or the drought resilience plan before Emily kicks off the review of the preliminary risk assessment? Great, not hearing any questions. Thanks for your patience. Emily, would you like to take it away?
Yeah, thanks, Rena. So I'll take a quick moment to go over the risk assessment. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so the purpose of the risk assessment is really to understand where physical and social vulnerabilities are in the county. And as Rena kind of mentioned, this is where the risk assessment will fall within the overall drought resilience plan. So it'll be chapter 3. Go to the next slide. The risk assessment is really intended to help inform the short-term actions and the long-term mitigation strategies that we'll go over later in this meeting. But the risk assessment uses the DWR Water Shortage Vulnerability Explorer tool. This is on the right is a quick kind of screenshot of what that interface looks like. It includes data on indicators, which we'll kind of go over, as well as where domestic wells and state smalls are. And we use this to map out the areas that are the most vulnerable in the county. Next slide, please. So here are a few key definitions to help understand, what we're wanting to focus on. So the risk assessment looks at hazards, and in the context of SB 552, hazards are natural, human-made, and social processes that can lead to water shortages in the county. Community assets are people, structures, facilities, and systems that have value to the community. And the minimum assets considered as part of the DRP includes state small water systems, and domestic wells and those who rely on these supplies. And then lastly, vulnerability. These are characteristics of community assets or populations that make them more susceptible to damage from a given hazard, and that includes both physical and social vulnerability. So this slide kind of graphically shows the risk assessment approach. We're using the DWR water shortage tool to evaluate where physical vulnerabilities are concentrated within the county. Then we determine which indicators drive physical vulnerability. This includes climate change conditions, environmental conditions, and infrastructure vulnerability. And then we also use the tool to identify social vulnerabilities. So this looks at socioeconomic status, language and education, demographics, housing, and transportation. So this is then kind of both merged with the locations of where state small water systems and domestic wells are in the county. And then we finally, kind of identify where those high physical and social vulnerabilities intersect with state small water system and domestic wells. So this is a kind of snapshot of all the identified state small water systems and domestic wells in Ventura County. There are approximately 1,112 domestic wells and 26 state small water systems. So as a reminder, domestic wells serve 1 to 4 connections and state smalls serve at least 5, but less than 14 connections. So here are kind of the physical vulnerability results with the darker shades indicating higher physical vulnerability. And I wanted to note that only those with domestic well or state small water systems are shaded. So based on the assessment, the main drivers of physical vulnerability in Ventura County is wildfire risk, fractured rock, and potential water quality risk. And again, this is a very high, overview. The risk assessment will be chapter 3 in the DRP, and it will include a much more detailed description of each of these indicators. So this graphic shows the physical vulnerability score by domestic well density overlaying with state small water systems. So the darker brown color indicates high physical vulnerability and a high number of domestic wells. And then on the next slide, this slide identifies the regions with water shortage vulnerability. So we identified 7 areas in the county, all listed from A to G here. So A, we have Kiama Valley Basin, B, areas within the Lockwood Valley, Basin, C, areas within the Ojai Valley and Upper Ojai Valley basins, D, areas within the Santa Clara River Valley, Fillmore, and Piru basins, E, Santa Clara River Valley, Oxnard basins, F, areas within the Big Sycamore Canyon and Hidden Valley Basin, and then G, areas within the Simi Valley Basin. So this slide shows the physical vulnerability or areas with physical vulnerability intersected with social vulnerability. So the darker shades indicate higher social vulnerability, and the results are aggregated by census block group. So you can see kind of some of the more populated areas of the county, like in D and E, have higher social vulnerability. So this slide is summarizing each of the areas with water shortage vulnerability along with their physical vulnerability indicators that's really driving, why each of these areas have high vulnerability as well as their social vulnerability score. So again, these findings are really intended to inform the short-term actions and the long-term mitigation strategies that will show up in chapters 4 and 5 of the DRP. So that was a lot of information. And again, the full risk assessment will be in the DRP, will provide provide additional context, but just a really quick summary of the main findings. So before we move on to the next section on short-term actions and long-term mitigation strategies, I wanted to take a moment to see if there's, if these findings align with what you think, if this is accurate with what the county has experienced. Are the main drivers of vulnerability accurate? Anything else that we might be missing that we should be aware of? Okay. Hearing none, I think we can continue on to the following section.
You have a question from Anastasia.
Oh, yes. I think I see a hand raised.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm
Graham,
here.
I think.
Good. Oh, I was just wondering, not sure if this is a good time to bring it up, but I believe that some of the groundwater sustainability agencies need to do a risk evaluation of well vulnerability for drought conditions. Is this part of your analysis, or are you going to look at those?
Yes, those will be looked at as
Right.
part of and I think part of the short-term mitigation or short-term response actions, we kind of take a look at if the GSPs have already included like well mitigation programs in response to drought conditions. So that's where we can kind of take the opportunity to look into that.
Thanks.
Any additional questions? Okay. Okay, so if we go to the next slide for the short-term response actions and the long-term mitigation strategies overview. So the risk assessment is in chapter 3, and then the short-term response actions will make up chapter 4 of the DRP, and then the long-term mitigation strategies will be chapter 5 of the DRP. So quick definitions for both, like the name suggests, short-term response actions are designed to mitigate impacts during drought and water shortage onset and throughout a drought water shortage event. So these actions are taken immediately when a drought and water shortage emergency is happening or right about to happen. And then long-term mitigation strategies are intended to be preventative and reduce the vulnerability to drought and water shortage events for the long haul. So the DRP will be evaluating and selecting both actions and strategies and developing an implementation strategy for the county. So this slide kind of summarizes or copies over the legislation, but to summarize, the DRP will need to include, proposed interim and long-term solutions for state small water system and domestic wells within the county's jurisdiction. So at a minimum, the DRP will need to consider consolidations for existing water systems and domestic wells, domestic well drinking water mitigation programs, and provision of emergency and interim drinking water solutions. So what are short-term actions? Again, they're actions that are intended to mitigate the impacts of water shortage when it occurs. And the short-term response actions that we'll be exploring are kind of fall under 4 of these categories. So the first one is emergency and interim drinking water supplies. So these actions involve providing water during a shortage through various means, such as bottled water, purification tablets, transporting the supplies, et cetera, to ensure that state smalls or domestic well users have access to safe drinking water during the event of an emergency. Interties, these are connections between different water systems that allow for the transfer of water during a shortage. Mutual aid agreements, this involves coordination between different agencies or water suppliers to share resources during a water shortage event. And then lastly, permit streamlining and coordination. So streamlining the permitting process and improving coordination between regulatory agencies so that can expedite the development of new water resources and reduce the impact of shortages. So long-term mitigation strategies, again, are long-term preventative measures that help mitigate drought and water shortage conditions in the long run. So they also fall under kind of 4 different types of strategies. So one, drinking water well mitigation programs. This is a series of coordinated efforts that seek to reduce the vulnerability of domestic wells and state small water systems to water supply shortages. System consolidation, this could either be physical or managerial joining of 2 or more systems. That would include domestic wells and or state small water system. Regional water infrastructure investment, so this is participating in larger water supply projects to benefit domestic wells and state small water systems. And then lastly, addressing data gaps. So improving planning, forecasting, and monitoring domestic wells and state small water system supplies. So I wanted to, again, kind of open it up for discussion to better understand the county's experience to water shortage emergencies, what that looked like in the past, any lessons learned. So this will kind of, again, help us narrow our focus on some of the actions and strategies that the county would like to prioritize. So if anyone has any, comments or questions, please feel free to raise your hand and then we can kind of help facilitate.
Emily, I'm not seeing any hands raised. And monitoring the panelists or the participants. Should we go to the next slide then? Talk about next steps?
Yeah.
Great. And this is me. I'm discussing next steps for the task force. And so focusing on the next steps, we will be developing, in coordination with the PCT, a draft drought resilience plan, as mentioned earlier, for the task force review in mid-February. And then through early March, and then task force meeting 2 will discuss any feedback that we receive on the drought resilience plan, and that's scheduled for March 10th. So save the date, please. And then wanted to flag here if there were any additional discussion or questions that we wanted to discuss. And we have resources here as well. I know this is a lot that was presented all at one time. So as Shauna mentioned, there's the SB 552 website that we'll be uploading this presentation to if you want to take some time to digest or maybe email back with any questions or comments on any of the materials presented. So here's the email for this effort at the bottom here. And then the DWR risk assessment tool methodology is also available online. And that's what Emily presented as the risk assessment. And then DWR has developed a guidebook to help counties go through the SB 552 process. So if you have any questions about any of the materials that we presented today, either reach out to us or you can also look into that guidebook for additional information. So we're way ahead of schedule, which is great. So yes, Shauna, you have your hand up.
Oh, bam. I wanted to share my screen to show the website. I was going through the list of people that have signed up to actually be on the task force, and many people that are attending this program are not signed up on the task force yet. So I wanted to show how easy it is to join. So I'm going to share my screen. All right, there we go. So this is the website, and it's very, very simple. The meeting information is hosted here. This is where you're going to find the location of the slides and a copy of the meeting after the meeting. And to join the task force, you just first name, last name, and do your information and say, I would like to subscribe and participate in the task force. You'll receive all information concerning this, all invitation to meetings. And if you decide you don't want to do it anymore, you can unsubscribe in the same location. It's very simple. And then here is the email address. The website is not intuitive yet, but it's https://publicworks.ventura-county.gov/es/wells-drought-and-task-force/. So if anybody's they can email me directly if for some reason any of you aren't able to get a hold of this, or send me your email in the chat in the Q&A. It's private until we post it, so we can not post your email address to the public, and I can email you directly the links to any of these sites so that you can sign up to receive communication or officially join the task force. I think that's it.
Thank you, Shauna. All right, with that, are there any questions or concerns that have come up in the meantime that anyone would like to bring up or discuss? Well, we thank everyone for their participation. Shauna, do you want to say any closing words or to wrap this up? I think the website overview is really helpful with the resources, and signing up for the task force is a great call for. Thank you for walking us through that.
So anybody who's participated, please share this with colleagues and friends and family and neighbors if this is something that they should be involved with, because the more the merrier with this group, and encourage them to sign up for the communication and task force, and we can get a document that can span the whole county. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for participating. If there's no other questions, many of you probably have my email address. You can email me directly if you need something. All right, well, I guess I'm going to end this meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.